Accidentally crossing into the water margin world where one can summon wind and rain, ride the clouds and mist, and sow beans to become soldiers. I was originally looking for a big loser to take me on a pretense and take me flying, but to my surprise, one mistake made a big loser blow my hair, and as a result, I became that big loser. What should I do in the face of Wang Lun, who is jealous of the wise and capable, Chao Gai, who enjoys fighting, and Song Jiang, who is determined to recruit the true village leaders of Liangshan, as well as the complex domestic and international situation during this period. Online waiting, urgent and urgent. This book is the most serious and reasonable water margin in history. Experienced readers are welcome to review it. This book is also known as Journey to the Water Margin World, where you are too shy to greet others even if you don't know how to use magic or supernatural powers. You are truly the luckiest and happiest handsome guy in the world who collects, votes, and reads this book. Keywords of the novel. Xianxia version of Water Margin without pop-ups, Xianxia version of Water Margin TXT complete collection download, Xianxia version of Water Margin latest chapter reading. Chapter 1. Giant Spirit God, Are You Still Too? Seeking follow. Up reading. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1. Giant Spirit God, Are You Still Too? Seeking follow. Up reading. In this ghostly world, exorbitant taxes are rampant, and the Taoist ruler is extremely extravagant and desires to prosper the flower and stone gang. Even before the spring debt is over, the autumn debt returns, and public and private debts compete and take each other away. The grain has not left the field, and the silk has not been taken off the machine. It is no longer his own. The poor work hard for a year, but in the end, his wife is still discouraged. Some even rely on the powerful and wealthy to take over the land and his wife and daughter, causing their families to perish and their own lives to be sacrificed. In my early years, I often spoke to people, life kisses me with pain, I repay it with poetry. I dreamed that one day, the valleys would rise, the mountains would descend, the rough and winding roads would become smooth, and the holy light would be revealed, illuminating all humanity. But now, I have just woken up like a dream. If I want to save the people from water and fire, and solve the problem of the people hanging upside down, the only way is to stand up and fight, break through the old world, and rebuild a new world. Only then can everyone have a place to live and the tiller have their own land. May my brothers join me in fulfilling this dream. As soon as Jiang Hongfei finished speaking, Song Wan, who was short and black, loudly said, Even if we go up the knife mountain and down the oil pot, Song Wan will still lead his brother's horse and ride his horse, willingly using the power of dogs and horses. In addition, more than 10 ragged subordinates also bowed to Jiang Hongfei in excitement. I all listen to the village leader. The village leader asks me to go east, I will never go west. The village leader asks me to fight dogs, and I will never scold chickens. Right, I'll do whatever the village leader says. The village leader is a scholar who has traveled extensively and has a wide range of knowledge. Unlike us, who spend all day fishing and picking lotus roots, we have never left the 3-acre land of Liaohua. We are ignorant and ignorant. If we want to no longer endure hardship, we can only follow the village leader's orders and act our way. Listening to the support of Song Wan and others, Jiang Hongfei thought to himself, it's confirmed that this is the water margin world. My birthplace is Liangshan, which is 800 miles away from the water. Well, to be precise, it was before Wang Lun went up the mountain. Jiang Hongfei looked at Song Wan and thought to himself, just. Is his height also worthy of being called Cloud King Kong? It's not like he only chose the wrong name, not the wrong nickname. Is it a reverse operation? Once it was confirmed that this was the water margin world, Jiang Hongfei's heart suddenly relaxed. He was familiar with various versions of the water margin, especially the plum in the golden vase. The little golden lotus had a peach blossom face, curved eyebrows and crescent moon, and was charming to the bone cough. It seems like this is not the time to think about it now. Since this is the water margin world, if I want to become an official, I must first gather a team, raise my own value, and then find a big injustice to hold my thigh and let him pretend to force me to fly, and then wait whose thighs can hold it. Wang Lun, who is jealous of the wise and capable. Chao Gai, who likes fire fighting. Or is it Song Jiang who is wholeheartedly seeking peace? These three guys have no good ending. Oh, in this period when the Northern Song dynasty was on the brink of extinction, becoming an official was not a good choice, was it? The final winner is Jiang Yan, who is still just a doll, Zhao Jiumei. Is Yu Fei still just a doll now? Speaking of which, this is the water margin world. It's not certain whether there are Jin people, Zhao Go, and Yu Fei, right? So who is suitable to be my big enemy? Wait a minute, I shouldn't have become that big enemy, right? At this moment, a sharp-eyed servant lowered his voice and said, "Village leader, there are fat sheep." Jiang Hongfei regained his senses and looked up to see two people walking along the official road. One, dressed as a scholar, with a long sword diagonally inserted at the waist. The other person, thin and tall, was carrying a simple knife in his hand and a heavy package on his back. The book suggests that these two individuals are Wang Lun, a white-clothed scholar who has just left Caijin Zhuangzi to venture into the martial arts world, and Tian Duqian, who is touching the sky. Wang Lun and Duqian, who had received funding from Caijin, were now dressed in long cross-necked robes that only officials, merchants, literati, and wealthy citizens would wear. They wore good silk scarves on their heads and a pair of colorful brocade pants under their feet, wearing boots and shoes, all dressed in the attire of wealthy people. It's not surprising that minions who haven't seen much of the world may think that Wang Lun and Duqian are fat sheep. Before Jiang Hongfei could deploy or even react, Song Wan lifted a rusty falling knife and rushed out. The dozen or so subordinates also rushed out after seeing the situation. Upon seeing this, Jiang Hongfei almost had a crooked nose. No organization or discipline, where did you place me as the village leader? Song Wan and the dozen or so minions stopped in front of Wang Lun and Duqian. Song Wan pointed at Wang Lun and Duqian with a knife in his hand and exclaimed loudly, "I opened this mountain and planted this tree. If you want to pass away from now on, leave behind the road to buy wealth. If you can't say a word between your teeth, kill one with a knife, I will manage to kill without burying it." After speaking these few sentences and learning from the storyteller, Song Wan suddenly felt as if he had forgotten something. Looking left and right, when Jiang Hongfei was still in the forest, Song Wan patted his own big head and said, "Forget about my brother." Song Wan quickly ran back and invited Jiang Hongfei over. This time, Song Wan was half a step behind Jiang Hongfei throughout the entire journey, following suit step by step, respectful, so that Wang Lun and Duqian could tell at a glance. The skinny young man of average stature and good appearance who emerged later was the true leader of this group of strong men. Seeing the main leader appear, Wang Lun smiled and said, "At home, I rely on my parents, and when I go out, I rely on my friends. I love to make friends with heroes the most in my life. There are two treasures of spiritual wealth here, and I am willing to make friends with the village leader." After speaking, Wang Lun threw a money bag at Jiang Hongfei's feet. Jiang Hongfei thought to himself, the consistent money of the Northern Song dynasty is equivalent to the 400 to 900 of later generations, and the 2 guan money is 900 to 18. If we save some money, it should be enough for us 10 or so people to eat for a few days. The key is that Song Wan's military strength is almost the bottom in the water margin world, and this tall and thin man seems to have something. Why not? Let them go. Who would have thought that if Song saw Wang Lun casually throw out 2 yang of spirit coins, he would immediately guess that they had caught a big fish this time. He then said with red eyes, "Stop talking nonsense, leave your bags and weapons, and let the 2 of you have a way out. Otherwise, it depends on whether Grandpa Song's knife is still effective." Seeing Song Wan's insatiable greed, Duqian held a simple knife in his hand and cursed loudly, impossible to kill talent. Give it face, let's see a certain family take your dog's life. As soon as the words fell, Du Qian raised his simple sword and attacked Song Wan. Song Wan didn't talk nonsense and immediately raised his sword to face the battle. In an instant, the two of them fought together, and their cheers and the collision of weapons intertwined. In an instant, I saw the tall and thin Du Qian, with a simple sword in his hand, set sail like a dragon, sometimes tumbling and sometimes diving, his attack like a tide that was difficult to stop. And the short and sturdy Song Wan was agile in his movements, with a strong and heavy drop of the knife in his hand, opening and closing wide, not letting Park Dao have a trace. At this point, it is already midday. Under the scorching sun, on the official road, two deadly auras fight each other until they reach a close of 20, regardless of victory or defeat. After exchanging a few more moves, it was evident that Du Qian had significantly more combat experience. He remained calm and focused, and every attack was precise and rapid, leaving Song Wan with no choice but to act recklessly. Slowly, Song Wan fell into a disadvantage due to consuming more physical energy. Jiang Hongfei felt great anxiety upon seeing this. Although Jiang Hongfei is not quite sure about the combat effectiveness of others. However, Jiang Hongfei was aware that Song Wan was currently our first fighting force. Seeing Du Qian's impressive skills, Jiang Hongfei was very worried. When Song Wan fell, these dozen or so people on his side were just like him, just like Du Qian's every move. Why don't we all rise up and attack without emphasizing martial arts ethics? Or just apply oil to the soles of our feet? But the problem is, if that's the case, then the image of a master that I finally pretended to be will definitely be self-defeating. In that case, I will have to start deceiving from a new place, and that's okay. Who is not deceiving? The key is, in the world of water margin, where is there a better place of birth than Liangshan in the water pool? Ah, forget it, if you lose your life, then there's nothing left. Anyway, it's important to save your life. Just as Jiang Hongfei was about to shout, let's all go together and then run away alone depending on the situation, Song Wan suddenly let out a loud change, and the others grew at least 10 times larger. Then he punched Du Qian, who was only about the size of his finger now. Upon seeing this scene, Jiang Hongfei almost dropped his chin to the ground and said, "Giant spirit god." Or superpower technique. To Jiang Hongfei's surprise, when faced with Song Wan's huge punch, Du Qian exclaimed change and his body grew at least 10 times larger. Then he grabbed Song Wan's huge punch with one hand and the two of them fought back together. Seeing this, Jiang Hongfei felt that he had swallowed a big mouthful of water, and then he could not channel with a voice that only he could hear. Give back his mother. End of this chapter. Chapter 2. Alchemists. Seeking follow. Up reading. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2. Alchemists. Seeking follow. Up reading. Is this the water margin world? Or I got it wrong before. I actually traveled to the Western Journey, Fengshen, or some other immortal world. Watching the two giants huddled together in the field, as well as Jiang Hongfei, who was once confident and believed everything was under his control as they fought and swayed, now he not only feels that everything is out of control, but even his own values have collapsed. On the other hand, seeing that Song Wan could also unleash the supernatural powers of the universe and earth, Wang Lun smiled and said, I don't want there to be an alchemist here who is on par with Du Qian's younger brother. An alchemist. Du Qian. Jiang Hongfei's spirit immediately shook, and he clenched his fists at Wang Lun, saying, May I ask, is this hero who is fighting with the song leader of our village touching the sky and moving? Ha! Wang Lun looked at Jiang Hongfei with a surprised expression on his face. How do you know the name of Xiaoka's wise brother? No wonder Wang Lun is so surprised. Indeed, Du Qian had no reputation in the martial arts world at this time, and few people knew that he had the nickname of touching the sky. In fact, among the many disciples of Caijin Mansion, Du Qian was also a relatively mediocre one. If it weren't for this, how could Du Qian consider Wang Lun, who is also not well known in the martial arts world, has not shown his abilities, and has some jealousy towards the wise, as his elder brother, and follow Wang Lun to explore the martial arts world? After receiving confirmation from Wang Lun, Jiang Hongfei breathed a sigh of relief and said, although this world is somewhat beyond my expectations, it should still be the water margin world. As someone familiar with various versions of water margin, I definitely have some advantages. At this point, Jiang Hongfei immediately regained a lot of confidence, and then he looked at Wang Lun with a mysterious expression on his face and said, I not only know the origin of the Du Qian brothers, but also know your name and where you came from. Wang Lun narrowed his eyes slightly and said, oh. The village leader really has such skills, so I need to see some of them. Jiang Hongfei didn't play any tricks and said straightforwardly, Your Excellency is Wang Lun, a scholar in white. The two came from the residence of a high-ranking official named Chai from Zhangzhou, Hebei. Are you right? For the first time, Wang Lun faced up to Jiang Hongfei, who was wearing a coarse cloth cap, a short shirt, a pair of grass shoes, and a standard low-level attire, just like other subordinates. As he scrutinized Jiang Hongfei, Wang Lun clenched his fists and probed, Have you not consulted yet? Jiang Hongfei smiled and saluted. Xiaoku Jiang Yan, also known as Hongfei, has just returned from a trip outside. Yesterday, when passing by these 800-mile water pools, he felt that Liangshan is a rare treasure. So he went up the mountain to observe and happened to meet the Song Wan brothers and others living on the mountain. When he loved me for my knowledge of literature and martial arts, he invited me to become the village leader. Jiang Hongfei vaguely remembers that in ancient times, a single character was considered expensive, while a double character was considered cheap. Therefore, Jiang Hongfei specially reported to Song Wan and others the name he had changed in his previous life as a means of transportation, and used the original name as his own character. Upon hearing that Jiang Hongfei still had words, Wang Lun asked, Is the village leader a scholar? Jiang Hongfei humbly said, I have been studying miscellaneous books for several years before, but I have never achieved any official status due to my travels abroad. Upon hearing that Jiang Hongfei was not even a child, Wang Lun, who had already achieved fame as a scholar, immediately withdrew some of his attention and casually asked, I wonder where the village leader is from. Wang Lun was the great-grandson of Wang Su, the younger brother of Prime Minister Wang Dan in the early Song dynasty. Although his family had declined and he had become a knight, he also came from a prestigious family. In this world, this is a very loud sign. Otherwise, do you think that with so many disciples in Cai Jin's mansion, why would Cai Jin look up at Wang Lun and give him 500 Ling coins to help him explore the world? You should know that when Cai Jin gives ordinary friends in the martial arts world, the maximum amount is only 180 Liang spirit coins. For example, when Du Qian left Cai Jin's estate, he only received 20 Liang spirit coins gifted by Cai Jin. Jiang Hongfei is not unaware that in this world, culture is more important than martial arts, and he values his family background and connections. But Jiang Hongfei has only just arrived in this world, and he still hasn't adapted to the atmosphere of this world. In other words, in the current concept of Jiang Hongfei, heroes do not ask for their origins. So, Jiang Hongfei did not create a very impressive family background for himself, but casually replied, First, Yen Xianyun, wild cranes, and wandering in the world, lonely boats and fishermen enjoy leisure, without the need for Tao. Now, Wang Lun looked down upon Jiang Hongfei even more. He said calmly, Oh, dignity is a hermit. Due to Song Wan accidentally crushing a huge stone, which caught Jiang Hongfei's attention, Jiang Hongfei did not notice the contempt in Wang Lun's tone. Don't be fooled by Wang Lun's low reputation among the water margin, he also has a narrow-minded and jealous nature. However, when Wang Lun was the leader of the Shuaibo Liangshan fortress, he only had 3 men under his command. Du Qian, Song Wan, and Zhu Gui, who were all at the bottom of the list of Liangshan heroes and had extremely ordinary abilities. However, they were able to rely on the geographical advantages of the 800-mile Shuibo Liangshan fortress. Not only did they live a comfortable life, but they also developed the Shuibo Liangshan fortress to 700 or 800 people, and the key was that there were no official troops to fight. It is not difficult to see that Wang Lun is not that simple. Even carefully tasting, Wang Lun didn't want to take Lin Chong or let Chao Gai and his team go up Liangshan. In fact, there was also his own reason. Did you not see that in the end, Wang Lun died at the hands of Lin Chong, Chao Gai and his group, and they also took away the water and Liangshan? In the eyes of Jiang Hongfei, who is now impoverished, if he can bring Wang Lun and Du Qian into the company, then the early development of Shuibo Liangshan should be considered as having a foothold. The key is to make Jiang Hongfei boast, tell stories, eat, drink, and have fun. Jiang Hongfei is good at managing the water, and Liangshan, a super large enterprise that may develop into hundreds, thousands, or even tens of thousands of people in the future, and he doesn't know how to do it either. In this situation, how can Jiang Hongfei not tightly grasp Wang Lun, a management-oriented talent? I know that my younger brother and the Du Qian brothers have not yet found a place to settle down. Why don't we go up to Liangshan together, drink big bowls of wine, eat large pieces of meat, and divide the gold according to the scale? How about that? Wang Lun and Du Qian actually came here for no reason. In his early years, when Wang Lun traveled the rivers and lakes, he passed by Shuibo Liangshan. At that time, Wang Lun had already discovered that Liangshan, a water pool, was a treasure trove of bandits. It is precisely because of this that Wang Lun, who now has the entrepreneurial heart, brought Du Qian back to Shuibo Liangshan. Unexpectedly, Liangshan in Shuibo was preemptively occupied by Jiang Hongfei and his team. However, Wang Lun, who was as careful as a hare, could tell at a glance that Jiang Hongfei and his team were not strong. Moreover, if Wang Lun and Du Qian can annex the group of Jiang Hongfei, who are not many and just enough to start their own business, they can also officially embark on their entrepreneurial journey. So, Jiang Hongfei's proposal hit Wang Lun's heart. Wang Lun chuckled and said, "It's not impossible to ask Xiaoke and Du Qian's wise brother to go up to Liangshan. But when we both go up to Liangshan, who will take on the position of village leader?" Upon hearing that Wang Lun was about to compete with him for the position of village leader, Jiang Hongfei thought to himself, "You're really not polite." However, this is also normal. If Wang Lun doesn't want to be the village leader, then there is a problem. At least it indicates that Wang Lun has no intention of going to Liangshan. Jiang Hongfei did not answer Wang Lun's question immediately, but shouted to Song Wan, who was once again falling into a disadvantage. "Song Wan, I have already agreed with Wang Lun about him and the Du Qian brothers going up the mountain to join the gang. From now on, we will be a family. If we continue to fight, it will inevitably hurt our brotherhood. Stop fighting quickly." After listening to the steps given to him by Jiang Hongfei, Song Wan kicked Du Qian away, restored his prototype, and then stood behind Jiang Hongfei. Du Qian did not pursue the victory. In fact, it was not easy for Du Qian to completely defeat Song Wan, whose combat power was only slightly weaker than him. So, Du Qian also took advantage of the situation to restore the prototype, and then came to stand behind Wang Lun. Without looking back, Jiang Hongfei said to Song Wan, whose temples were covered in sweat and he couldn't help but gasp for breath, "My wise brother, take someone to fetch my gun." If Song Wan heard of the opportunity to wipe his sweat and take a few breaths, he quickly took 4 strong minions to the forest where they had been hiding before to get a gun for Jiang Hongfei. Wang Lun and Du Qian were a bit puzzled. They were just holding a gun, and there was still a need to go with 5 people. At this moment, Jiang Hongfei smiled and said to Wang Lun and Du Qian, "Our brothers are gathering together to achieve great things. Naturally, the position of village leader should be held by those who are capable and virtuous. Jiang Hongfei's words made Wang Lun's mouth slightly curl. Don't look at Wang Lun's scholarly attire and think he has no strength to bind chickens. In fact, he is a real Xianxia, a serious alchemist, and his combat effectiveness is no less than that of Du Qian. The key is, no matter what Wang Lun thinks, Jiang Hongfei doesn't seem like a powerful alchemist. In addition, Wang Lun believes that his family background and knowledge are definitely above Jiang Hongfei, and in terms of virtue, Jiang Hongfei is definitely not his opponent. So, Wang Lun naturally felt that the position of the village leader was already in his pocket. Those who are virtuous may not be able to distinguish between me and my wise brother for a while. It is difficult to find someone with high moral standards around us. If we each have our own opinions, it is not easy to determine whether we will win or lose. But for those who are capable, it's better for me to compete with my wise brother. The winner is the leader of Liangshan village, who is at the mercy of the water, the loser is willing to obey orders. How about that, suggested Jiang Hongfei. Wang Lun felt that Jiang Hongfei's words were reasonable. Both of them were not well known in the martial arts world. This virtuous person is not comparable, but it is easier to determine the winner than ability. Therefore, he asked, what is the comparison? At this moment, Song Wan and 4 strong minions slowly emerged from the forest, fighting against a long spear that was full of dark and enchanting blood. Upon closer inspection, Wang Lun noticed that Song Wan and the 4 subordinates had all their feet deeply stepped into the soil. From this, Wang Lun judged that the spear that Song Wan and the 5 of them were fighting against was probably not worth 1,000 pounds. When Wang Lunshin was neutral, 2 words emerged. Divine weapon. When Song Wanwu and his companions arrived at Jiang Hongfei's side with the long spear, Jiang Hongfei smiled and said, "Thank you, brothers." Then he casually took the spear and poked it to the ground. Just then, the long spear in Jiang Hongfei's hand actually fell into the artificial road about half a foot deep. Wang Lun's heart suddenly trembled. In addition, Jiang Hongfei showed a look of being able to eat Wang Lun. Wang Lun couldn't help but suspect that Jiang Hongfei might be a powerful alchemist, with combat power far superior to Du Qian and Song Wan, as well as to him. Seeing Wang Lun's expression change, Jiang Hongfei knew in his heart that his little trick had worked again. At this moment, Jiang Hongfei smiled and replied, "Both civil and martial arts are acceptable, and the wise brother is in charge." End of this chapter. Chapter 3. Jiang Yan is too shameless, please follow up. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3. Jiang Yan is too shameless, please follow up. Martial arts competition. Wang Lun has something. But when Chao Gai and his group instigated Lin Chong to fight against Wang Lun, with just one blow, Wang Lun was killed by Lin Chong. In addition, in Water Margin, Wang Lun is worried that Lin Chong, who is highly skilled in martial arts, may have a malicious intention to take his position as the leader, and he is also worried that Chao Gai and his team will occupy the Magpie's Nest, and he does not want Lin Chong and Chao Gai to join the gang in Liangshan. From this, it can be seen that Wang Lun's combat effectiveness is never too high. Even in this fairy tale version of the Water Margin world, this logic should not change. The key is that Wang Lunsheng is inherently cautious and cautious. How dare such Wang Lun compete with Jiang Hongfei, who seems to be a powerful alchemist? The development of the matter was as expected by Jiang Hongfei. We are both literati, why bother fighting and killing each other? Why not write a poem for each of us, dividing the winner by our literary talent? Wang Lun said. It's really a coincidence. Just a few days ago, while passing by the Yellow River, Wang Lun stumbled upon a masterpiece. Wang Lun felt that this was the best poem he had ever written in his life, with a touch of Li Du's charm, which could be used to defeat Jiang Hongfei. There is nothing that cannot be avoided. Jiang Hongfei smiled even brighter and asked, "So? Who will come first, you and me?" Wang Lun felt that Jiang Hongfei's smile was very dazzling, and then said calmly, Xiao Ku can easily write this poem. It's better for the wise brother to take his time. Jiang Hongfei was no longer humble. He took a few casual steps and happened to see a sheep on the hillside. He said. With it, the peaks and valleys are like a cluster, the waves are like anger, and the mountains and rivers are like Tongguan Road on the surface. Looking west, my mind hesitates. After listening to the first half of Jiang Hongfei's poem, Wang Lun was stunned on the spot. Good word. At this moment, Wang Lun finally realized that he might have kicked onto the iron plate. Is it true that this person is a talented person who has just returned from his travels? If so, it may be difficult to seize the water and Liangshan. At this moment, the words and phrases behind Jiang Hongfei gushed out. Sadly, every palace in the Qin and Han dynasties has been turned into dirt. Wang Lun, who was originally still savoring Jiang Hongfei's last two lines and guessed that Jiang Hongfei might end up with a tiger's head and snake's tail, might still have a chance. Upon hearing these last two lines from Jiang Hongfei, he immediately showed a bitter smile. Before Jiang Hongfei could finish writing this poem, Wang Lun knew that it was simply not comparable to the masterpiece he had just stumbled upon before. At this moment, Jiang Hongfei's tone changed and his face showed compassion for heaven and humanity. Rise, the people suffer, fall, the people suffer. Nostalgia is actually hurting the present, and heaviness is actually responsibility. If this poem only stays at the point where every palace is made of soil, it is also a medium. But in the end, it has a divine turning point, and one turning point comes to an end. With rare heaviness and profound vision, it reveals an unbreakable truth of a dynasty. Rise, the people suffer, fall, the people suffer. The writing is agile and powerful, awakening at a moment. Scenery hides emotions, emotions have scenery, emotions blend with scenery, language is concise, everyone. 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 Although Wang Lun didn't want to admit it, the fact is, he lost completely. After waiting for Wang Lun for a while, he saw that he was still silent. The line he had previously said, Xiao Ku, this poem is easy to come by, had become a piece of nonsense. Jiang Hongfei stepped forward, grabbing Wang Lun's arm with one hand and Du Qian's arm with the other. He smiled and led them towards Liangshan in the water, saying, It's okay if you don't have a good sentence for a while, but you can go back to the village and think about it slowly. My brothers give me and brother Wang Lun a testimony. Whenever brother Wang Lun makes a poem that surpasses my recent poem The Sheep on the Hill, it will be considered that brother Wang Lun has won this competition. Jiang Hongfei's magnanimity made Song Wan and other rough people secretly praise him. But Wang Lun's face twitched as he listened. Not to mention his mediocre talent in poetry, he may not even be able to create a better poem than The Sheep on the Hill in his lifetime. To put it another way, even if he spent 3 to 5 years creating a better poem than this one, how shameless would he be to admit that he had won over Jiang Hongfei. However, if Jiang Hongfei doesn't pave the steps for him, Wang Lun really can't get off this platform. There was no way, Wang Lun could only be taken by Jiang Hongfei to Shuaibo Liangshan with half effort. In order to ease his embarrassment, Wang Lun asked him what he was most curious about. You are a brand name that I have never heard of before. Jiang Hongfei couldn't say that this was a Yuan opera, not a song ci, could he? He perfunctorily said, I created it for my brother. After taking a few steps, Jiang Hongfei let go of Du Qian and patted his forehead, saying, I almost neglected the two wise brothers. After finishing his words, Jiang Hongfei took out a bag of spiritual money and handed it to Song Wan. Quickly take a few brothers to buy some good wine and meat. We will hold a grand banquet for our brothers, inviting the two leaders Wang Lun and Du Qian to join us in Liangshan. Song Wan heard that not only could he have a full meal tonight, but he could also drink alcohol and eat large chunks of meat. He immediately took the money bag with a smile and stuffed it into his arms, saying, "Brother, don't worry, I will definitely handle such a small matter well." A group of small henchmen also had the same cheerful faces as Song Wan, with some greediness, and even couldn't help but start swallowing saliva. Du Qian glanced at Wang Lun and saw that he did not deny his involvement in Liangshan. He, who was already bound to Wang Lun, could only temporarily follow him on a trip to Liangshan. And Wang Lun was looking at the money bag that Jiang Hongfei gave Song Wan, which was the 2 ling coins he had thrown to Jiang Hongfei before. Using my money to entertain me, Jiang Yan's thick facial features are rare in the world. Wang Lun looked at Jiang Hongfei calmly and thought to himself. Arriving at the lake, the little servant went to the reed marsh and shook out 2 of their hidden boats. A group of 5 or 7 people rowed separately. Not long after, the little servant shook the boat away and headed towards the big mountain in the middle of the 800-mile water berth. Liangshan. The small boat walked in this seemingly endless water berth for over half an hour, then crawled into a large reed marsh and a strange forest for about half an hour before finally arriving at the golden beach. After landing, Wang Lun turned around and saw. The mountains were lined with huge waves, and the water connected to the distant sky. Wang Lun gathers 10,000 teams of swords and guns, and strange trees line up 1,000 layers of swords and halberds. And this Liangshan is located between this reed marsh and the strange forest. If you are not familiar with the roads here, you may not even be able to find the road to the shore in a short period of time. If you dare to boldly break through these reed marshes and strange forests, even with his 100,000-strong army, you can be completely burned by a big fire. Wang Lun thought to himself, it is indeed a natural treasure land. If we manage it well, even if we attack it with 18,000 people, we will return without success. Wang Lun and Du Qian continued to walk up Liangshan with Jiang Hongfei and his group. On this road, there are pebbles stacked like mountains, green bamboo forests like rain, and big trees hugging each other on both sides of the road. Overall, Liangshan is completely a primitive forest. The group walked for another half hour and arrived at the mountaintop. I saw a mirror-like flat ground in the middle, with a radius of 300 to 500 zhang. There were 3 to 5 newly built grass houses scattered on both sides, and a huge stone stood in the middle with 3 words engraved on it. Wanzi City. Jiang Hongfei introduced to Wang Lun and Du Qian, the temporary houses on both sides were built with local materials by brothers Song Wan and others. The 3 characters Wanzi City on the middle boulder were written by my brother yesterday. My brother planned to build a small city here for us to live in. However, I am currently building a small town in Liangshan by water, and there is nothing to be done. The 2 wise brothers must not find it simple. I hope that they can provide valuable suggestions, and I will choose the good and follow it. Although Shuaibo Liangshan has the natural advantage of becoming a large fortress, even so, Wang Lun does not want to be the second in this small fortress with only a dozen people, and he may not even be able to make it. After all, in the current water pool of Liangshan, Song Wan is the second in command. If he and Du Qian join the company, it is likely that one is the third and the other is the fourth. Being the third in a small village with only a dozen people, if it spreads, one must make those who know him, Wang Lun, laugh their teeth out. But on the other hand, if Wang Lun were to act recklessly and refuse to accept the blame now, even the shameless Wang Lun wouldn't be able to do such a thing. However, if Wang Lun had left with an iron heart, it would definitely not be a problem. Upon hearing Jiang Hongfei's admonition, Wang Lun's eyes twitched and he immediately came up with a plan. He then honestly and rudely said, "This place is a good choice for a large fortress, but if we want it to truly become a large fortress, we must carry out extensive renovations." Next, Wang Lun talked confidently. What is it to build a pavilion halfway up the mountain, so that those who climb the mountain have a place to rest midway? What is the only way to climb the mountain to build 3 majestic gates according to the terrain? Otherwise how can we defend against attacks from others? What mountain top not only requires the construction of a city, but also the construction of a schoolyard. Also, the small subordinates in the village can no longer be idle like they are now, they need to practice regularly, and we also need to build several hotels around the 800-mile water pool, assign meticulous leaders to manage them, attract people to climb the mountains and move in, and so on. Wang Lun said a lot in one breath. At first, Wang Lun just wanted Jiang Hongfei to see his ambition. As he spoke, Wang Lun couldn't help but express his plans and prospects for Shuibuo Liangshan. It is not difficult to see from this that Wang Lun really has ideas about the water and Liangshan. Moreover, Wang Lun's ideas about water and Liangshan are very constructive. However, at the same time, discerning people can all see that Wang Lun's plan for Shuibuo Liangshan and the height he stands at are not the height that an ordinary leader should have, but the height that a village leader should have. In other words, Wang Lun has already overstepped his duties and done what Jiang Hongfei, the leader of Liangshan, should do. Ambitious. And without any disguise. In Wang Lun's mind, if he were in Jiang Hongfei's position, he would definitely find ways to drive him down the mountain, who was clearly planning to seize the throne. But Wang Lun was wrong. After patiently listening to Wang Lun's suggestion, Jiang Hongfei surprisingly didn't even consider it and said, "Since my younger brother is good at management, then I will fully entrust all such matters to my younger brother, okay?" Wang Lun had some doubts whether he had heard it wrong or not. Jiang Hongfei surprisingly let him take charge of the entire Shuibuo Liangshan. If we compare Shuibuo Liangshan to a court, it would be like saying that Jiang Hongfei made this newly joined person a prime minister under one person and above 10,000 people. Then, Jiang Hongfei said to Du Qian's virtuous younger brother would condescend to lead half of the fortress soldiers like Song Wan's virtuous younger brother. If Du Qian's virtuous younger brother is not afraid of hard work, he can also manage the money and food of the fortress. Upon hearing this, Wang Lun realized that Jiang Hongfei not only made him in charge of everything related to water and Liangshan, but also gave his confidant Du Qian half of the military power, and even made Du Qian manage money and food. In Wang Lun's view, if this continues, he can easily overpower Jiang Hongfei and become the true owner of the Liangshan River. Wang Lun thought to himself, if that's the case, I can stay at Liangshan in this water pool. End of this chapter. Chapter 4. Am I a divine root? Seeking follow. Up reading. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4. Am I a divine root? Seeking follow. Up reading. Does Jiang Hongfei not know that making Wang Lun the chief manager of Shuibuo Liangshan, giving Du Qian half of the current military power in Shuibuo Liangshan, and also letting Du Qian manage the money and food in Shuibuo Liangshan, may make Wang Lun and Du Qian deceive themselves? How could it be? Although Jiang Hongfei has not infiltrated the Officialdom, he has always watched Officialdom TV dramas, novels, and so on, as he has traveled from the world of the information explosion. Jiang Hongfei is actually very clear about the possible consequences of doing so himself. Even so, even if Jiang Hongfei chooses again 100 times, he will definitely stick to his current choice. Jiang Hongfei now actually only has one hero who is almost at the bottom of the water margin world, a dozen minions, and a water-moored Liangshan with only a few thatched cottages and a few small boats. The key is that Jiang Hongfei is a person who cannot manage water in Liangshan, nor can he lead troops to fight in martial arts. He is not a martial arts master or a powerful alchemist. If he cannot recruit Wang Lun and Du Qian to join Liangshan, these people will not even have a place to eat, let alone have a bright future for development and growth. More realistically, if Jiang Hongfei doesn't let Wang Lun see that he has the opportunity to be the master of Shuibuo Liangshan, Wang Lun will definitely not stay, let alone fully manage and develop Shuibuo Liangshan. In such a situation, Jiang Hongfei doesn't know if others will choose, but he doesn't have any pressure when it comes to choosing. To put it bluntly, if in the future Wang Lun were to develop the Shuibuo Liangshan, even if everyone had a dispute and split up, Jiang Hongfei would still be able to share more family wealth, wouldn't he? And don't forget, in the future, there will definitely be new people coming to Liangshan in Shueibua. As long as Jiang Hongfei can win over the new people, Wang Lun, who can be slaughtered by Lin Chong with just one knife, will have to obediently work for Jiang Hongfei. In short, Wang Lun has Wang Lun's calculations, and Jiang Hongfei also has Jiang Hongfei's calculations. As for who Jiang Hongfei and Wang Lun can laugh until the end, let time witness. Song Wan brought people back enough wine and meat for Jiang Hongfei and his dozen or so people to feast on. More than 10 people arrived at the Ji Hall, and Song Wan took the initiative to give the second chair to Wang Lun. He also let Du Qian, who had slightly higher martial arts skills than him, sit in the third chair, while he himself sat in the fourth chair. Wang Lun was very satisfied with Song Wan's wit, and he even felt that Song Wan, who was very witty, could be wooed. Guests and guests treated each other, sat down for a banquet, and everyone began to boast and drink alcohol. After drinking a few bowls of good wine, Song Wan took the initiative to hold Du Qian's hand and said, "Brother Du Qian, don't underestimate the simplicity of my stronghold with your scholar brother. To be honest, although my stronghold was established, there is no future ahead." Du Qian, who had also drank several bowls of wine, casually asked, "Why did Song Tu Ling say this?" Song Wan respectfully asked Jiang Hongfei with both hands, "It's all because I have a brother in my village." Du Qian looked at Jiang Hongfei and said contemptuously, "What is so extraordinary about the lord of Jiang village?" In fact, Du Qian still hasn't figured out why Wang Lun joined this small village with only a dozen people. Yes. Du Qian also felt that Jiang Hongfei's poem, The Sheep on the Mountain Slope, was magnificent and should be extraordinary. But to be honest, Du Qian, this rough guy, really can't tell where this poem is really powerful. As for Jiang Hongfei's combat effectiveness, Du Qian also noticed that the long spear in Jiang Hongfei's hand, which looked extraordinary at first glance, should be a divine weapon weighing 1,000 pounds. But in this fairy tale version of the water margin world, there are too many people with innate divine power, but not all of them may be powerful alchemists. Also, Jiang Hongfei's footsteps are ethereal, his figure is average, and he doesn't look like a powerful alchemist. The key is that if Jiang Hongfei really has something, he should have a certain reputation in the martial arts world. However, Du Qian, who had been working in Caijin Zhuangzi for several years and was well informed, had not heard of Jiang Hongfei at all. This made Du Qian, who was far less cautious than Wang Lun by nature, secretly dissatisfied with Jiang Hongfei. And Jiang Hongfei let Du Qian lead 5 or 7 subordinates, who knew at first glance that there was not a single spiritual coin or a grain of food in the water of Liangshan. Although his skills were average, Du Qian, who had been living in Caijin Zhuangzi for several years, really didn't look up to such a big power. In fact, Du Qian just never had the opportunity to have a good conversation with Wang Lun. If there were, Du Qian would definitely advise Wang Lun to hurry down the mountain and then find another mountain to occupy as the king. Seeing that Du Qian did not respect Jiang Hongfei, Song Wan slammed the wine bowl in his hand onto the table and said extremely displeased, "Du Qian, if you dare not respect your brother, don't blame me, Song Wan, for turning against you." Upon hearing this, Du Qian also stood up and loudly said, "Flip your face, flip your face. I'm afraid you won't succeed." Upon hearing this, Song Wan's body immediately began to grow, as if he was ready to open up as soon as he arrived. Upon seeing this, Du Qian's body also began to grow larger, preparing to fight against Song Wani again. Seeing a fire about to erupt, Jiang Hongfei looked at Wang Lun and gestured for him to stop Du Qian. Wang Lun, who had ulterior motives in his heart, didn't want Du Qian and Jiang Hongfei to have a falling out and ruin his plan. Therefore, he spoke up, "Don't hurt the harmony between the two wise brothers. We are already a family now. If you have anything to say, why bother fighting each other?" Then, Wang Lun ordered Du Qian's wise brother, "Stop with me now." Upon hearing this, Du Qian reluctantly reverted back to his original form. Jiang Hongfei then stopped Song Wan and said, "Song Wan is a wise brother." Upon hearing Jiang Hongfei make a sound, Song Wan Chong and Du Qian snorted heavily, "Humph," and then reverted back to their original form. At this moment, Wang Lun, who wanted to recruit Song Wan, who had the other half of the military power and was in charge of the construction of Shuaibuo Yangshan, smiled and said to Song Wan, "Don't have the same understanding as Du Qian, my younger brother. He is a rough person and drank a lot of water and wine before offending my younger brother. I apologize on his behalf to my younger brother." As he spoke, Wang Lun picked up his wine bowl and drank it all in one bold gulp. Wang Lun spoke well and did not dislike Song Wan as a crude person. As a literati, he treated Song Wan with wine and enjoyed drinking, which made Song Wan very fond. So Song Wan quickly returned a bowl of wine. Seeing this, Wang Lun's smile became even brighter. Then he took the initiative to ask, "My wise brother Yan has something extraordinary. Why don't you say that I and Du Qian's wise brother also know a little?" Song Wan, who had long been quiet and displeased, immediately spoke of Jiang Hongfei's glorious resume after receiving the steps given to him by Wang Lun. "When my older brother was still in his infancy, he traveled around the world with his parents. At a young age, he crossed the Great Wall, walked the grasslands, and headed north of the desert. Along the way, he encountered countless dangers and had to fight for survival since childhood. At the age of 3, my older brother practiced shooting, and once he got the hang of the gun that year, he became one-person and gun enthusiast. He couldn't let go of his love, and at the age of 9, he realized that he had 13 deadly guns." Listening to Song Wan boasting in his ear about his improvised 13 deadly spears, Jiang Hongfei's toes could almost snap out of a 4-bedroom living room under the table. What Jiang Hongfei never expected was that Wang Lun and Du Qian, who were clearly knowledgeable, listened very attentively, just like Song Wan and the others in the beginning. What surprised Jiang Hongfei even more was that even Wang Lun and Du Qian did not show any signs of ridicule when they heard about the nonsense of killing the demon monkey of Huagua Mountain on the 9 heavens. On the contrary, their expressions were even more solemn. Later, until Song Wan finished speaking about the 13 shooting techniques that Jiang Hongfei knew, Wang Lun and Du Qian glanced at each other as if they were confirming something significant. Subsequently, Du Qian, who had always been straightforward, didn't want to play riddles anymore. He looked straight at Jiang Hongfei and politely asked, "Is brother a divine root?" End of this chapter. Chapter 5. Completely different spiritual roots, please follow up. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5. Completely different spiritual roots, please follow up. Divine roots. I have only heard of golden spirit root, wood spirit root, water spirit root, fire spirit root, earth spirit root, ice spirit root, wind spirit root, thunder spirit root, light spirit root, dark spirit root, heavenly spirit root, earth spirit root, alien spirit root, miscellaneous spirit root, pseudo spirit root, and empty spirit root. What kind of ghost is this divine spirit root? New variety. I don't understand at all. Should I claim this so-called divine root or not? To Jiang Hongfei, this divine root sounds quite impressive. Moreover, Jiang Hongfei is just a suspect of the divine root, and Du Qian respects Jiang Hongfei even more than before. Even Wang Lun has a serious expression on his face. On the other hand, Jiang Hongfei was also afraid that if he boldly recognized this divine root, he would become a little white mouse and be caught for research or simply dug out and transplanted into someone else's body. To take a step back, it means pressing Jiang Hongfei there to check if he has a divine root. Isn't Jiang Hongfei foolish enough to add insult to injury? Entangled. Just when Jiang Hongfei didn't know how to choose, Song Wan curiously asked, "What is this divine root?" As soon as Song Wan asked him what he wanted to ask, Jiang Hongfei immediately felt that Song Wan's dark and large face looked a bit better. Jiang Hongfei immediately continued to pretend to be mysterious, without any intention of answering Du Qian's question. Upon seeing this, Du Qian couldn't help but feel a bit disappointed. Then he looked at Song Wan and said, "Song leader doesn't know the spiritual roots." Song Wanbian rubbed his hands and said, "To be honest, we all anchor in the Song family village and make a living by fishing and picking lotus roots all day long. We haven't been too far away." Surprisingly, Du Qian did not mock Song Wan and his companions for their lack of knowledge. Instead, he patiently asked, "Do you know what the spiritual root is, Song leader?" Song Wan shook his head and said, "It seems like I've heard someone say a word, but I accidentally understood." Du Qian didn't play any tricks and explained directly. The spiritual root is the medium through which we alchemists communicate with spiritual energy. Each person has some spiritual roots to some extent, but each person has different types and degrees of spiritual roots. There are 5 types of spiritual roots. Upon hearing this, Jiang Hongfei's spirit was uplifted and he felt that what Du Qian was going to talk about was definitely the spiritual roots of the 5 basic elements of gold, wood, water, fire, and earth. However, what Du Qian said was, that is, changing attribute spiritual roots, strengthening attribute spiritual roots, transforming attribute spiritual roots, objectifying attribute spiritual roots, and externalizing attribute spiritual roots. What? Jiang Hongfei felt as if tens of thousands of grass and mud horses were rushing past in his heart. How come the spiritual roots here are completely different from what I saw in the novel? Du Qian didn't know about Jiang Hongfei's psychological changes. He continued, "A alchemist with a variable attribute spiritual root can transform spiritual energy into variable attribute spiritual power. By using this spiritual power, one can change their body or part of it. Like Song and I, they can enlarge their bodies, and like many martial artists in the martial arts world, they can transform their bodies into beasts or birds of prey. However, powerful variable attribute alchemists will pursue semi-beast transformation because it can maximize their combat power." Jiang Hongfei has a good understanding ability, and he immediately realized that the representatives of full animal transformation are mostly those of the winged tiger Lei Heng, the short-footed tiger Wang Ying, and the mother insect Gu Dashao, while the representatives of semi-animal transformation are mostly those of the leopard head Lin Chong and the blue-faced beast Yang Ji. Song Wan asked curiously, "So, how is your and my divine ability?" Du Qian smiled bitterly and said, "Once our divine ability is used, it can strengthen our physical strength and cause huge damage based solely on our weight. However, in the eyes of powerful alchemists, the little power we have gained is not even significant. On the contrary, as our bodies grow larger, our weaknesses also increase, making it easier for us to be attacked by others. Therefore, we will never be able to join the ranks of powerful alchemists and can only." Speaking of which, Du Qian looked around at the group of minions, and it goes without saying that they could only fight a dozen of these minions. Du Qian clearly did not want to continue the topic that made him feel sad and embarrassed, and then continued. Qi alchemists with enhanced attribute spiritual roots can convert spiritual energy into enhanced attribute spiritual power. By using this spiritual power, they can strengthen themselves or the weapons they use. These types of Qi alchemists often have strong attack and defense abilities, as well as strong recovery ability, and can even self-heal wounds. Qi refiners with hallucinogenic spiritual roots can transform spiritual energy into hallucinogenic spiritual power. By using this spiritual power, they can transform spiritual power into water, fire, wind, thunder, etc. The best of them can summon wind and rain. A Qi refining master with materialized spiritual roots can convert spiritual energy into materialized spiritual power. By using this spiritual power can be materialized into various items. Among them, the best ones can become swords by drinking straw and soldiers by throwing beans. Even if their swords and soldiers leave the Qi refining master's spiritual control range, they still have destructive power and will not easily revert back to their original form. Qi alchemists with externalized spiritual roots can convert spiritual energy into externalized spiritual power. By using this spiritual power, they can release their spiritual power. These types of Qi alchemists usually have two types of supernatural powers. One is to release their spiritual power to attack enemies, and the other is to transform their spiritual power into magic to help them fight. As for the strength or weakness of spiritual roots, good or bad, we alchemists are accustomed to distinguishing by numbers. Each type of spiritual root has a strength of 10 and a weakness of 1, which is not a whole number and should be rounded up. If it is 0, it means that the person does not possess this spiritual root. If a person is born with a spiritual root of 3, they can awaken their spiritual power and become an alchemist. If an alchemist has a spiritual root of 5, whether it is innate or acquired through cultivation, it is possible for them to comprehend divine powers. After Song Wan and others digested it for a while, Du Qian continued to explain, the spiritual roots possessed by alchemists are not only fast in cultivation, but also in restoring spiritual power. When fighting, it naturally lasts longer, which is good, and vice versa. Spiritual roots are not innate and unchanging. They can be strengthened through cultivation. Our alchemists' daily cultivation mainly focuses on cultivating spiritual power, physique, divine powers, and spiritual roots. In theory, through cultivation, one can even cultivate all the attributes of a person's spiritual roots to 10. In other words, theoretically, the maximum total number of spiritual roots can reach 50, which is the same as the Great Way. At this point, Du Qian shook his head and said, it's natural to be poor in literature and rich in martial arts. If a Qi refiner has only 3 innate attributes of spiritual roots, and only cultivates this type of spiritual root to 7, the cost will be no more than 100,000. Moreover, the higher the cultivation, the greater the difficulty of spiritual root improvement, and the higher the cost. Therefore, usually only Qi refiners with high talent, that is, those who are born with 1 or 2 or more spiritual roots of 5 or more, can become powerful Qi refiners. As for cultivating all spiritual roots to 10, I have not heard of anyone who has achieved it so far. Even if only one type of spiritual root is cultivated to 10, it is unlikely. It is only possible to cultivate one type of spiritual root to 9 or more, which requires strong talent, sufficient resources, and the alchemist's own efforts to improve. I don't know why, but at this moment, Du Qian was extremely talkative, and he knew everything he knew without hesitation. This not only broadened the horizons of Song Wan and the others, but also solved many of Jiang Hongfei's doubts. A subordinate saw that Du Qian seemed to be quite talkative, and he had always been curious about the divine roots mentioned by Du Qian. So he took a break and asked, Sandungjia, what exactly is the divine roots? Du Qian glanced at Jiang Hongfei again and saw that he still had no intention of speaking. He then explained, the divine root, also known as the full spiritual root, has all 5 attributes of spiritual roots and must all exceed a certain value. Legend has it that such alchemists will awaken some special divine powers. Song Wan asked, what special powers are there? Du Qian shook his head and said, I don't know exactly. But it is said that such an alchemist is like a fairy, able to glimpse the mysteries of heaven and know what people don't know. As soon as Du Qian finished speaking, 3 names flashed through Jiang Hongfei's mind. Jiutian Xuannu, Luo Zhenren, and Zhizhen Elder. At this moment, Du Qian and Wang Lun coincidentally looked at Jiang Hongfei. Jiang Hongfei suddenly had a flash of inspiration in his mind. He somewhat understood why Du Qian and Wang Lun suspected that he, like the 9 heavenly empress, Luo Zhenren, and Elder Zhizhen, were divine roots, comparable to the immortals in the water margin world. Firstly, yesterday in order to obtain the position of the leader of Shueibwo Yangshan village, I casually boasted to Song Wan and others who seemed not very clever about my background and my ability to kill 13 soldiers with both literary and military skills. I almost told them that I was crazy about pulling cool and dazzling hanging bombs, asking them to become the leader of Shueibwo Yangshan village, and that I could take them to pretend and fly. Song Wan added fuel and vinegar to his boasting to Wang Lun and Du Qian. After listening, Wang Lun and Du Qian clearly regarded the 13 deadly guns they knew as 13 divine powers. If one truly possesses so many supernatural powers, it is highly likely that all 5 attributes of spiritual roots exceed 5, otherwise it is unlikely that one would have developed so many supernatural powers. In addition, just to deceive Wang Lun and Du Qian into going to Liangshan, I once blurted out the identities of Wang Lun and Du Qian, who are not yet well known in the martial arts world, and where they come from. Also, I have said that I have only returned from traveling outside, so I should not be familiar with the martial arts world of the Song dynasty. Combined with my own bizarre and legendary background, I created it. Let Wang Lun and Du Qian brainstorm and be able to do their own calculations. When these are combined, it is not surprising that Wang Lun and Du Qian suspect themselves as prophets of divine roots. After understanding these things, Jiang Hongfei picked up his wine bowl and smiled noncommittally. "Come on, drink, drink." Then he started drinking on his own, pretending to be mysterious to the end of this chapter. Chapter 6. Too heavy on emotion and meaning, please follow up. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6. Too heavy on emotion and meaning, please follow up. Jiang Hongfei is unwilling to say what attribute of spiritual root he is, and who can force him to ask. Furthermore, everyone's spiritual root attributes are the secrets they should keep. If 2 people start playing and their strength is similar, the person with more cards will definitely have a higher chance of winning. Unconsciously, everyone drank too much. When a person drinks too much, it is inevitable that they will talk too much. Du Qian may have truly believed that Jiang Hongfei might be a divine root, and had the idea of joining the Liangshan tribe, which made him no longer as arrogant as before. Moreover, Du Qian and Song Wan had a hint of not knowing each other, and they talked a lot, including their secrets, shoulder to shoulder. Du Qian said that he was originally a sugar seller, but was bullied by the hooligans and accidentally killed them before escaping to the martial arts world. Later, he fled to Caijin village and flattered Caijin to eat, drink, and have fun every day. Song Wan said that he used to live a decent life with a group of brothers by fishing. Not long ago, the son of Zhuang Baojing in the Song family, using his drunkenness, kicked open the door of his beloved and insisted on sleeping with him. He happened to bump into him, and in a fit of anger, he kicked Song Baojing's son in the crotch, cutting off his family's incense. Upon learning of this matter, Song Baojing brought the teachers and guests from the village to search for him everywhere, threatening to kill him if they found him. As a last resort, Song Wan Kai brought a dozen or so brothers who were willing to go with him to Shueibwo Liangshan to become bandits. Shared destiny has made Du Qian and Song Wan talk about everything. Song Wan said, "I usually practice spiritual power and supernatural powers by eating more fish and shrimp in the pond and practicing the martial arts taught by the village teachers. How does my brother practice spiritual power and supernatural powers?" Du Qian replied, "I am similar to you. I also refine and absorb spiritual energy through the method of food practice, and then convert it into my own spiritual power." Later, Du Qian took the initiative to say, "We, as alchemists who mainly practice through food, only eat food containing a small amount of spiritual energy on a daily basis, and do not eat heavenly and earthly treasures such as spiritual rice, wine, medicine, tea, beasts, and birds. As long as we put in enough effort, we will not waste spiritual energy, and there is no need to worry about getting demonic. At most, we will waste some time and eat some hard work." Song Wan smiled bitterly and said, "I also want to eat the heavenly, spiritual, and earthly treasures that contain a lot of spiritual energy. But how could a great good thing that day fall on us poor people?" Du Qian boasted, "I once had the privilege of drinking a spirit wine soaked in various precious spiritual medicines for 7 to 40.9 days at the residence of the high-ranking official Chai. I also received a bowl of spirit rice and a horn of spirit deer meat as a reward from the high-ranking official Chai. The spiritual energy and taste, tsk tisk, Song Wan and others were drooling and looking forward to it. In order to cover up the ugliness of himself and his brothers, Song Wan turned the topic aside and said, "Brother, besides this method of food cultivation, are there any other methods of cultivation?" Du Qian took a big sip of wine before answering, "There are also some methods that accelerate the absorption and refinement of spiritual energy through breathing, meditation, and sitting meditation." Wang Lun, who had a desire to win over Song Wan, took the conversation and said, "Although those cultivation methods have the effect of accelerating cultivation, there are also two aspects that cannot be taken." Song Wan asked, "Oh. Which two are not taken?" On the one hand, those cultivation methods are all mastered by the royal family, wealthy and noble families, aristocratic families, and various major sects and masters. Ordinary people find it difficult to obtain the true and complete method. If they do not follow the true and complete method and practice according to it, they are prone to becoming demonic, with mild cases of personality changes and severe cases of death on the spot. Without a large amount of spiritual money and spiritual offerings, even if there is a true and complete method, it is no different from chicken ribs. It is better to use this method of food practice step by step for cultivation. Later, Wang Lun also took the initiative to take out a spirit testing card to help everyone test their spiritual roots. After testing, Song Wan has two types of attribute spiritual roots. Changing attribute spiritual roots 5 and strengthening attribute spiritual roots 2. All spiritual roots add up to 7. Upon seeing this, Du Qian said, "Similar to me, with your and my qualifications, if you want to further improve on the path of qi refining, the cost will never be small, and the ultimate achievement will definitely be limited. Unless someone is willing to spend millions on you and me, it is already your and my creation to advance to the third-rate qi refining master in this life." Then, the other minions used Wang Lun's spirit testing cards to test their respective spiritual roots one by one. As a result, the highest among the minions only has a physical attribute of spiritual root 2. It is difficult to awaken spiritual power and become a qi refining master, let alone awaken divine powers. Wang Lun also wants Jiang Hongfei to take a test. Without waiting for Wang Lun to open his mouth, Jiang Hongfei lay on the wooden couch beside him and fell asleep. Wang Lun was really unsure whether Jiang Hongfei was really drunk or pretending to be drunk, so he had to give up. Everyone continued to brag and drink alcohol. Perhaps due to drinking too much, no one noticed that Wang Lun's spirit testing card was being passed on without knowing where it had gone. When everyone was drunk and unconscious, Jiang Hongfei tiptoed up and walked out of the Ji hall with the spirit tablet he had pressed under him. He arrived at the huge stone in the middle with the words, "Wanzi City" written on it. This is the birthplace of Jiang Hongfei. To be precise, this giant rock is the birthplace of Jiang Hongfei. Previous life. Jiang Hongfei was born into a very ordinary family, with 2 brothers in his family. He was the eldest and through diligent study, he was admitted to the history department of a 985 university, specializing in the history of the Song dynasty. At that time, Jiang Hongfei was a literary and artistic youth who was good at poetry, songs, and prose. He was also a non-staff member of the Water Science Research Association, specializing in the study of the literary masterpiece, Water Margin, and a series of related cultural studies, including version research, author research, book history research, folk water margin culture research, water margin commentary, metaphor research, and recreation in multiple fields. After graduation, Jiang Hongfei stayed on as a history teacher for 2 years. To be honest, Jiang Hongfei really enjoyed that job. It wasn't tiring and had many holidays, so he could continue his hobbies. It was quite suitable for Jiang Hongfei at that time. It wasn't until his girlfriend, who had been talking for 6 years, separated from Jiang Hongfei due to her house, car, and several $100,000 dowries, and then married a bald and greasy man that Jiang Hongfei realized the importance of money and how unsuccessful his previous life had been. To be honest, Jiang Hongfei may not care about the woman he has slept with for 6 years, but he really can't accept being defeated by an old man who has nothing but money. Jiang Hongfei had a very good childhood friend who once told him, if he had half his conscience and worked for a year as a writer, he would be able to drive a BMW when he returned home during the Chinese New Year. If my conscience is gone, I can work as a playboy for a year and buy a Land Rover Range Rover to go home for the Chinese New Year. It's not a big problem, if you directly chop up your conscience and feed it to the dog, work for a year as a playboy, and go home during the Chinese New Year. The minimum starting point is Karina. Jiang Hongfei arranged for his childhood friend to go to the 3rd floor 3 times, and talked about how he had helped him fight many times during his childhood. One time, he even saved his life from drowning in Huangtupaozi. It was only then that he pointed Jiang Hongfei away to sell stationery and walnuts. Working overtime hard won't even bring in a few extra hours at night. Jiang Hongfei has had enough of that cold and hot day. So, Jiang Hongfei's heart sank. He even sold his own dog, pieced together 10,000 yuan, went up the mountain to package 300 walnut trees, and picked over 40 tons of green skin. Later on, walnuts were paired up, and the most expensive pair was sold for 88,000 yuan, while the rest were sold for 88,000 yuan or 6,600 yuan. The cheapest pair was not sold for less than 3,000 yuan per pair. Finally, in less than a year, Jiang Hongfei made over 3 million yuan, leaving over 30 tons of walnuts. The following year, the price of cultural and recreational walnuts plummeted, and Jiang Hongfei found another good way to make money by selling tree seeds. Jiang Hongfei, who didn't want to waste time on playing with walnuts anymore, looked at the pile of walnuts very eye-catching, and it was also a burden to keep at home. So he found a dried nut seller and sold them all for 3,000 yuan. In short, after embarking on the path of entertainment, in just 3 years, thanks to the good guys, Jiang Hongfei, Jack Ma, Ma Huateng, and Musk's assets combined have already reached over 1 trillion yuan. With a thunderous sound on the flat ground, Jiang Hongfei suddenly became rich. Jiang Hongfei's ex-girlfriend heard that Jiang Hongfei had gotten along well and took the initiative to come and find him. Composite. Jiang Hongfei's ex-girlfriend did want to, but how could Jiang Hongfei come back to eat this rotten grass? Seeing that Jiang Hongfei had no intention of asking for her again, Jiang Hongfei's ex-girlfriend revealed another reason why she came to find him. Originally, her husband, also known as the bald and greasy man, wanted to undertake a major project and was preparing to give gifts to a leader who particularly liked Tianzhu. But the couple didn't understand Tianzhu, so they started asking around and finally found out about Jiang Hongfei, an outstanding newcomer in the cultural and entertainment industry. So, Jiang Hongfei's ex-girlfriend took the initiative to tell her husband that Jiang Hongfei was her classmate and invited him to help. In those years, Jiang Hongfei had already deeply realized that as long as a man had money, he would have panned Jinlian wherever he went. Therefore, Jiang Hongfei did not hold any grudges against his ex-girlfriend. Besides, the two had been communicating for 6 years, and even if they no longer had feelings, they had passion before. The key is to have some bottom line in being a person. After all, we can't just do it for dignity, can we? So, Jiang Hongfei agreed to help his ex-girlfriend once and politely declined her suggestion of wanting to review the past and learn new things as a token of gratitude. Goodbye to that bald and greasy man. As soon as he came up, he said he wouldn't buy cheap Tianzhu. This is because he apologized to the Mediterranean Sea. He had worked hard for many years to earn money by staying up late. Upon hearing this, Jiang Hongfei expressed that he knew where there was a pure 9-eyed heavenly pearl king. There were only 2 of them in the world, one that only he knew its whereabouts, and the other that was worn around the neck of a martial arts superstar. Moreover, the martial arts superstar's one may still be fake. Upon hearing this, the bald and greasy man was overjoyed and immediately stated that he wanted the 9-eyed heavenly pearl king. Jiang Hongfei didn't waste any time, just quoted a price of 8,888,000 yuan. Then, Jiang Hongfei saw that the bald and greasy man's eyes were throbbing with pain. Upon seeing this, Jiang Hongfei immediately expressed that the martial arts superstar tree, which was bought for 20 million yuan back then, is now worth almost 100 million yuan. This one is less than 9 million yuan compared to him. Is it expensive? Upon hearing this, the bald and greasy man immediately stopped being as arrogant as before. He first ordered a piece of huazi for Jiang Hongfei, then brought 2 bottles of tableware and invited him to the best local restaurant for a good meal. Then, he kindly arranged for Jiang Hongfei to go to the 3rd floor. It was completely comfortable to arrange for Jiang Hongfei. The bald and greasy man said that he used to be a bricklayer, caught up with the dividends of reform and opening up, and earned 2 small sums of money by contracting projects. It's really not a big money. He spent over 8 million yuan on a broken stone at once, which required him to spend all his money. He asked if Jiang Hongfei could find a way for him to save some money. Jiang Hongfei's ex-girlfriend often came to find Jiang Hongfei, and roast that she had been blind at the beginning, had taken a fancy to a fake tycoon, and played a big emotional game with Jiang Hongfei. Jiang Hongfei has no other faults, but he values emotions and righteousness too much. In the end, Jiang Hongfei couldn't resist his ex-girlfriend's teasing and stubbornness, so he wiped out the rest and only took them 8 million yuan. Jiang Hongfei is too black. Hey, this meal can be eaten recklessly, but words cannot be spoken recklessly. Yes. The cost of Tianzhu itself is only 30 yuan. But the cost of actors is expensive. The actors who participated in that performance were all authentic Tibetan group performances, and they could easily say the authentic, Zazatal, style with their mouths open. After putting in so much effort, Jiang Hongfei even sold his 6-year relationship and only made over 7.9 million. Is it easy for Jiang Hongfei to earn that money? I don't know if it's because Jiang Hongfei did too much unethical things in those 3 years, or if God punished Jiang Hongfei for losing his conscience and even deceiving his ex-girlfriend. Shortly after completing that transaction, Jiang Hongfei was on his way to the club to chat about life with a young model when he was struck by a bolt from the blue and lost his senses. When Jiang Hongfei woke up again, he was already lying on the big stone in front of him. End of this chapter. Chapter 7. Ideal is full, reality is skeletal, seeking follow-up. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7. Ideal is full, reality is skeletal, seeking follow-up. Maybe I can't go back. Jiang Hongfei looked at the seemingly ordinary boulder in front of him and thought to himself, it didn't look like it could send him back. Perhaps many people enjoy traveling and look forward to it, but those people definitely don't include Jiang Hongfei. Jiang Hongfei lived in a luxurious mansion, drove a luxury car, was young and wealthy, did not have a fixed girlfriend, and was a reliable diamond prince. Not to mention being the groom every day and changing brides night and night, he was definitely a young model in the clubhouse, indulging in extravagance, living a very happy and carefree life. In today's world, aside from the immortal and chivalrous elements that Jiang Hongfei is not yet familiar with, let alone the water margin world. It is a world where many heroes rise together, with fierce wars and extremely chaotic situations both domestically and internationally. Coupled with the prevalence of demons and monsters, how can Jiang Hongfei's original world be safe and comfortable? Fortunately, my younger brother knows my safe password and all the bank card passwords. He is also shrewd, down-to-earth, and filial, so let him fulfill his filial piety on my behalf. I hope Xiaoli and her husband can use that fake celestial pearl to exchange for that big project, reducing some of my sins. And those good guys I've deceived, I'm sorry. In this life, I will do as much good as possible to redeem my past sins. Jiang Hongfei took out the spirit testing card and carefully inputted his spiritual power according to the method Wang Lun suggested. Has Jiang Hongfei awakened his spiritual power? Yes. Yesterday, shortly after Jiang Hongfei woke up, he shivered coldly. That feeling is a bit like just having a life exchange with a top-notch person, yet there is a big difference. How to say it? The former, along with it, will definitely lead to mental exhaustion. The latter, however, gave Jiang Hongfei a feeling of hating the heavens without a handle, hating the earth without a ring. Coincidentally, out of the corner of Jiang Hongfei's eye, he saw a short metal rod that was about a foot long and had a sharp iron knot at the end, protruding from the surface of the boulder. He grabbed it with his cheap hands and gave it a fierce thrust. As a result, Jiang Hongfei pulled out his long spear from the boulder, which was all black and shimmering with enchanting blood. Jiang Hongfei has named this extraordinary spear Yaoji. Accompanied by the birth of the witch, the sound of tigers howling and dragons chanting suddenly echoed around. Immediately after, lightning flashed and thunder roared in the sky, and a fierce wind blew. Jiang Hongfei, who was completely unaware of that scene, accidentally fell off the boulder. Fortunately, Jiang Hongfei did not fall or get injured. As soon as Jiang Hongfei stood up with the help of the demon queen, Song Wan came out of their thatched cottage with a dozen or so small servants. It's really amazing. As soon as Song Wan and the others appeared, the sound of tigers howling and dragons singing, lightning and thunder, and fierce winds all disappeared. Meanwhile, it was precisely because of these experiences that Jiang Hongfei overlooked the mysterious power within him. Until today, after listening to Wang Lun, Du Qian, and Song Wan chatting, Jiang Hongfei guessed that the power inside his body should be spiritual power. That is to say, as soon as Jiang Hongfei arrived in this world, he awakened his spiritual power and did not slowly awaken like many people do. Du Qian mentioned this situation. His original words were: "Some people have extraordinary talents, and at the age of 2 or 3, or even younger, they can awaken spiritual power, and even divine powers." That's also why Jiang Hongfei said that he practiced shooting at the age of 3, and as soon as he started shooting that year, I was able to combine people and guns. They had no doubts at all. Jiang Hongfei also judged from this that his spiritual roots should be good, perhaps he may not necessarily be a divine root. So, Jiang Hongfei found an opportunity to press the spirit testing card under him. At this moment, in the quiet of the night, a person secretly ran out to test what kind of spiritual root he was. Quickly, a dazzling white light and 4 relatively dim red, yellow, blue, and black lights flashed across the spirit measuring card. According to Wang Lun, Jiang Hongfei carefully studied for a long time before muttering to himself with some uncertainty: "I am the 7th strengthened attribute spiritual root, the 2nd changed attribute spiritual root, the 2nd transformed attribute spiritual root, and the 15th externalized attribute spiritual root." According to Du Qian, one's enhanced attribute spiritual root is expected to be cultivated above 9. As long as one is willing to put in hard work, there is still a possibility of becoming a powerful alchemist. Moreover, alchemists with strong spiritual roots and enhanced attributes usually possess the strongest attack and defense abilities, and can also self-heal. This can also explain why my own strength is so strong that even the witch can be pulled out of the stone, and why I fell off this big stone without getting injured. Overall, Jiang Hongfei's spiritual roots are definitely better than Du Qian and Song Wan, and even more so than Wang Lun, who cannot even awaken his divine powers. Even so, Jiang Hongfei couldn't help but feel a bit disappointed. According to Du Qian, the more spiritual roots there are, the faster the spiritual power recovers and the longer the combat power lasts. The spiritual power used for martial arts is different from the spiritual power used for supernatural powers. Martial arts are not like supernatural powers, they have no requirements for the attributes of spiritual power. As long as it is spiritual power, it can be attached to oneself or one's own weapons, enhancing one's defense or attack power. This is not just a unique effect of enhancing the spiritual power of attributes, but the effect of enhancing the spiritual power of attributes is even better. At first glance, the more spiritual roots there are, the better, but Jiang Hongfei's total spiritual roots are only 15. Of course, with cultivation, Jiang Hongfei's total number of spiritual roots can also increase. But as Du Qian said, having only 2 spiritual roots makes it difficult to cultivate to above 5. Usually, for it is the end, unless it is using heavenly materials and earth treasure piles. So, if there were no adventures, even if he practiced diligently, Jiang Hongfei's total number of spiritual roots could reach up to 25, just half of the highest. What disappointed Jiang Hongfei even more was that he only had 1 spiritual root that could surpass 5. You should know that according to Du Qian, the more types of spiritual roots there are, the more awakened divine powers are possible. Qi alchemists like Du Qian and Song Wan, who only have 1 variable attribute spiritual root exceeding 5, can only awaken the divine power of variable attributes. Moreover, because their variable attribute spiritual root is only 5, those who have just awakened the divine power can most likely awaken the divine power of the variable attribute of becoming larger, i.e., the Dharma, heaven, and earth. If an alchemist has both a changing attribute spiritual root and a strengthening attribute spiritual root that exceed 5, they can awaken both the changing attribute divine power and the strengthening attribute divine power, as well as the combination of changing and strengthening attributes divine power. By the way, if your spiritual roots are not particularly good, it's better not to use too many supernatural powers. Because divine powers require continuous development and repeated refinement to become truly powerful. If the spiritual roots are not good enough and there are too many supernatural powers, it is easy to be greedy and unable to chew, but instead fall into the lower class. Moreover, using supernatural powers requires a lot of spiritual energy, so if the spiritual roots are not good enough and the spiritual power is not restored quickly enough, it is good to be able to use 1 or 2 supernatural powers in a battle. In summary, if the spiritual root is not particularly good, it is wiser to focus on cultivating 1 or 2 divine powers as a trump card. However, on the other hand, even so, the more awakened divine powers there are, the better. After all, only with a lot of supernatural powers can one choose the best and most suitable development and refinement, making it one's powerful trump card. Just like Du Qian and Song Wan, if they can still awaken other divine powers, why insist on developing and refining magical powers like the celestial phenomena and the earth that can only deceive people but are actually of little use? Jiang Hongfei, who only has 1 type of enhanced attribute with spiritual roots exceeding 5, may also encounter situations like Du Qian and Song Wan. Fortunately, Jiang Hongfei's enhanced attribute spiritual roots are initially 7, and if he works hard to cultivate, he should be able to reach 9. In this way, even if Jiang Hongfei can only awaken the divine power of enhancing attributes, he should still be able to awaken more than 1 divine power of enhancing attributes, leaving some room for choice. This can also be considered a blessing in misfortune. To be honest, instead of having the 5 attribute spiritual roots of 1-7, for 2, Jiang Hongfei really wishes he were the 2 attribute spiritual roots of 1-7, 1-8. Although the latter would reduce Jiang Hongfei's total spiritual roots and shorten his time in martial arts battles, Jiang Hongfei can cultivate both attributes of spiritual roots to above 9, awaken several divine powers, and select 1 or 2 more powerful ones to develop and refine. In that case, Jiang Hongfei will definitely enter the ranks of first-class alchemists. But now it's not necessarily the case. If Jiang Hongfei's awakened divine ability is not good, even if he tries hard, he can only be with second-rate alchemists. In short, Jiang Hongfei is very dissatisfied with his spiritual roots. Of course, this is mainly because Jiang Hongfei had too high expectations for his spiritual roots before. Before the results came out, Jiang Hongfei always believed that even the strange thing of crossing time could happen to him, and he must be the protagonist destined to wildly drag and blow the sky. Therefore, his spiritual roots must be divine roots, and even his spiritual roots should be 10 to 50 full. As a result, the ideal is full, but the reality is very bone-like. End of this chapter. Chapter 8 Song Wan. Brother, Wang Lun's servant is plotting to seize the throne. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8 Song Wan. Brother, Wang Lun's servant is plotting to seize the throne. Seeking follow-up reading. Since knowing that Jiang Hongfei may be a spiritual root alchemist, Wang Lun hesitated whether to continue staying at Shuibuo Yangshan. There is no way a spirit root alchemist can take action and possibly kill hundreds, or even thousands, of people. Based on this, if Jiang Hongfei is truly an alchemist of divine roots, no matter how hard Wang Lun tries and calculates, he may not be able to shake Jiang Hongfei's position as the village leader. The problem is that Jiang Hongfei has never admitted to being a spiritual root alchemist. Moreover, Wang Lun noticed that Jiang Hongfei's footsteps were floating, and he didn't seem like a spiritual root alchemist, or even a powerful alchemist. Wang Lun has suspected that Jiang Hongfei is a fraudster who lies incessantly. Unfortunately, Jiang Hongfei had a divine weapon weighing over 1,000 pounds in his hand, and he could still wield it freely. He said that Jiang Hongfei was not a powerful alchemist, and Wang Lun himself did not believe it. The key is that Wang Lun has been wandering in the martial arts world for many years, and he has never found a second place that is more suitable for becoming a bandit than Liangshan in the water. Entangled. Just as Wang Lun hesitated about whether to leave Shuibuo Yangshan, Jiang Hongfei casually left with a sentence, "If you have something to do, find the second in charge," and left. Jiang Hongfei walked so freely that there seemed to be no sense of unease. Before Wang Lun could think carefully about why Jiang Hongfei was so at ease with him, Song Wan approached him and rubbed his hands, asking, "Second in charge, brothers, let me ask what to eat for breakfast." Wang Lun reacted for a moment and asked, "There isn't even enough food in the village to make breakfast." Upon hearing this, Song Wan's face immediately turned purple eggplant color. He stuttered and said, "There are only a few dried fish left in the village." At this point, Song Wan looked around at the dozen or so people, and the meaning was very obvious. "It's not enough for so many of us to eat." Wang Lun asked again, "Yesterday you waited to buy wine and meat, but didn't you buy some food by the way?" Song Wanli said confidently, "The village leader didn't even mention buying grain." Wang Lun was filled with anger upon hearing this. 2 liang of spiritual money could buy 10 stones of grain, but Song Wan and the others all used it to buy wine and meat, and they all finished it in one meal. How could they live like this? Wang Lun persisted and asked, "How do you usually solve the problem of having a stomach?" Song Wan thought to himself, "If I can solve this difficult problem, can I still support brother Jiang Yan as the village leader with my brothers?" Although Song Wan has a straightforward personality, he won't say such things out loud. He can only respond to Wang Lun's problem with silence. Seeing this, how could Wang Lun not know that these beggars have no ability to solve their basic needs? After hesitating for a moment, Wang Lun took out 10 ling coins and handed them to Du Qian, asking him to take someone to buy some food and bring it back. After Du Qian left with his people, Wang Lun felt uncomfortable with the water pool in Liangshan planned by Song Wan and his team. Moreover, Song Wan and his team lived in a place similar to a dog house, which was too dirty, messy, and poor. Being idle left and right was also idle, so Wang Lun led Song Wan and others to clean up the Xianxia briefly. In the evening, Jiang Hongfei returned from outside. As soon as everyone met, Jiang Hongfei generously praised, "I still know how to manage. Look at this village, it's much cleaner." Second brother. Wang Lun instinctively felt that this title was not right. But Wang Lun really can't find anything wrong. Shaking his head, Wang Lun stopped thinking about the uncomfortable title and said formally to Jiang Hongfei, "Village leader, I think it's necessary for us to have a frank and open conversation." Jiang Hongfei patted Wang Lun's shoulder, causing Wang Lun's serious expression to change in pain. At this moment, Wang Lun completely put aside Jiang Hongfei's judgment that he was not a powerful alchemist. Based solely on the 2 slaps that Jiang Hongfei casually gave him, Wang Lun was confident that Jiang Hongfei was at least a powerful alchemist with enhanced spiritual roots. Otherwise, even if he did not use his spiritual power to resist, Jiang Hongfei's casual slap on his shoulder would not make him feel like his shoulder was about to be shattered by Jiang Hongfei's slap. Jiang Hongfei said, "I know what you want to talk about, but I don't think it's necessary. There's no need to be so polite between you and my brothers. Forget it, I'll just talk to you directly. I have something big to do recently, and I really can't care about the affairs in the village. So, regardless of the size, I'll leave all the matters in the village to you, my second brother." What else does Wang Lun want to say? Unexpectedly, Jiang Hongfei waved his hand and said, "Second, you can treat yourself as the leader of my village in Liangshan. I can definitely trust you, second." Upon hearing Jiang Hongfei's words, Wang Lun narrowed his eyes and said, "If that's the case, then don't blame me." Wang Lun has already figured it out. If Jiang Hongfei were truly a spiritual alchemist, even if Wang Lun recognized Jiang Hongfei as his elder brother and village leader, he would not suffer any losses and could also enjoy the cool breeze under the big tree. If Jiang Hongfei is not the alchemist of the divine root, then he will be sorry. This water pool and Liangshan belong to his Wang Lun. In the following days, Jiang Hongfei would go out early and return late every day. He had truly accomplished the task of swimming in Liangshan without hearing or asking, completely handing it over to Wang Lun. And Wang Lun was no longer worried about gains and losses. He asked Song Wan to take him to a nearby gathering place for refugees. This year, Shandong experienced a severe drought, coupled with excessive taxes and levies imposed by the Zhao and Song dynasties. Zhao Ji also vigorously promoted the development of Huashigang, resulting in many poor people unable to afford food and having to travel far away to find a way to survive. As a result, many refugees gathered near Liangshanpo, which has a large amount of edible fish and lotus roots. Wang Lun personally selects people with good spiritual root talents every day, in order to earn them enough to go to Liangshan and become bandits. These subordinates were recruited by Wang Lun to Liangshan, and Wang Lun did not allow them to eat idle food. Instead, he asked Song Wan to lead them in building Shuebuo Liangshan according to Wang Lun's previous plan, and also asked Du Qian and Song Wan to practice them from time to time. In less than 3 months, Wang Lun smashed all the 500 Ling coins he had obtained from Cai Jin into Shuebuo Liangshan, which had begun to take shape and became a fortress with nearly 200 minions and certain defensive capabilities. At the same time, the name of the white-clad scholar Wang Lun also began to ring. People on both sides know that the 800-mile water pool of Liangshan has been occupied by a group of strong men. The leader is the white-clothed scholar Wang Lun, and there are 2 leaders under his command. One is Touching Tiandu Qian, and the other is Song Wan, the King Kong of Yunli. As for Jiang Yan, the village leader of Shuebuo Liangshan, no one has ever heard of him. Of course, this was deliberately done by Wang Lun, in order to downplay Jiang Hongfei's prestige and even erase his existence, making people, including those who live in Liangshan, believe that Wang Lun is the master of Liangshan. Then, he used both soft and hard measures to drive away Jiang Hongfei, occupy Liangshan, and become a hero, waiting for the opportunity to take action. Wang Lun believes that he has the confidence to complete this plan. The earliest foundation of Shuebuo Liangshan was not so much established by Jiang Hongfei, but rather by Song Wan. To put it bluntly, Jiang Hongfei was just a day ahead of Wang Lun in Liangshan. If the person in Liangshan had been his Wang Lun 1 day earlier, the position of village leader in Shuebuo Liangshan would definitely have been his Wang Lun. The key is that in the past 3 months, the people on the Liangshan mountain, including Jiang Hongfei, have eaten and used everything that belongs to his Wang Lun. The key point is that everything that Shuebuo Liangshan currently possesses was built and arranged by his Wang Lun, and the team of 200 subordinates was also led by his Wang Lun. Just ask Jiang Hongfei, what contribution have you made to Shuebuo Liangshan, and why are you the leader of Shuebuo Liangshan? In Wang Lun's opinion, Jiang Hongfei has no chance to turn over. If he is clever, he can get out of the water and anchor Liangshan on his own. Otherwise, don't blame him for being impolite. The contributions of Jiang Hongfei and Wang Lun to Shuibuo Liangshan are all seen and remembered by the people of Shuibuo Liangshan. Not to mention the group of subordinates who went up the mountain afterwards. Even the old people who used to live on the mountain felt that Jiang Hongfei, the leader of the village, wandered around all day and did not focus on his duties. Unlike Wang Lun, the second in command, who was capable and dedicated, and more importantly, he poured hundreds of silver coins into the Shuibuo Liangshan area. Compare two people and make a judgment. Song Wan was relatively loyal and did not get pulled over by Wang Lun because of these things. He took the initiative to find Jiang Hongfei and said to him, "Brother, when I see Wang Lun going out, he never reports his brother's name, only his own family name, making the world only know that there is a white-clothed scholar named Wang Lun in Liangshan who is not aware of his brother. This is a malicious act. Brother, please be careful of that man. That conspires to seize the throne." Song Wan's reminder warmed Jiang Hongfei's heart. Wang Lun has almost completely crushed me. This brother can still occupy my side, rare. Jiang Hongfei encouraged and patted Song Wan's shoulder, saying with great confidence, "Don't worry, wise brother. I have my own plans, and I can't change the sky when my water is in Liangshan." End of this chapter. Chapter 9. Cutting off Wang Lun's fantasy, follow up. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9. Cutting off Wang Lun's fantasy, follow up. During the period when Wang Lun vigorously developed and built Shuibuo Liangshan, what was Jiang Hongfei busy with? Jiang Hongfei is trying to become a qualified alchemist. After nearly 3 months of trying, Jiang Hongfei found that he would become a qualified alchemist. I don't know if it was because without the guidance of his master, Jiang Hongfei had to rely on his own exploration. It took nearly 3 months, but only managed to control the opening of his seminal orifice, transforming his spiritual power back into spiritual energy that spewed out. He then used his divine sense to bind the spiritual energy and wrap it around his body, increasing the density of his spiritual energy. This way, his attack and defense can be enhanced. Undoubtedly, Jiang Hongfei has mastered some methods of using spiritual power. But as Wang Lun, Du Qian, Song Wan, and others have said in their daily communication, using divine consciousness to compress and concentrate a large amount of spiritual energy can greatly increase the quality of attack or defense, but there is still a big gap. To put it more vividly, Jiang Hongfei can now attach spiritual energy to his own fist or witch, making his attack stronger. He can also attach spiritual energy to his entire body to enhance his overall defense. However, he cannot compress a large amount of spiritual energy on his fingertips or witch's gun tip, greatly enhancing his attack power and making it invincible. He also cannot compress a large amount of spiritual energy in a fixed position on his body, greatly enhancing his defense and preventing the powerful killing moves of powerful alchemists. This is not the most crucial yet. The most crucial thing is that through training, alchemists can tighten their pores and completely cut off their spiritual power, turning it into a loss of spiritual energy. According to Du Qian, the spiritual power of alchemists is constantly being restored by absorbing the spiritual energy from heaven and earth through their spiritual roots. After cutting off consumption, the spiritual power will recover faster. Jiang Hongfei's understanding of this is similar to some games, where characters in the game will slowly regain mana after consuming mana, i.e. spiritual power, and can quickly regain mana when consuming items rich in spiritual energy or in a state of breathing, meditation. However, by tightening their pores, although not as fast as consuming items rich in spiritual energy or meditating, or breathing, they can accelerate their mana regain to a certain extent. So, alchemists usually tighten their seminal pores to maintain their optimal state, and after battles, they also tighten their seminal pores to quickly restore spiritual power. In this way, it is easy to determine whether a person is an alchemist, at least in the eyes of some powerful alchemists. Because some powerful alchemists practice a method of using spiritual power called spiritual eyes, which is to infuse spiritual power into their eyes to make them more sensitive, so that they can better capture the attacks of other alchemists. When spiritual eyes are cultivated to a high level, they can even see things that ordinary people, including ordinary alchemists, cannot see. This includes spiritual energy. Du Qian once said that as long as you use your spiritual eyes to see if there is spiritual energy flowing out of a person's body, you can determine whether they are an alchemist. If there is none at all, it means that the other party is tightening their refining holes, and they must be an alchemist. On the contrary, if even the skills that this alchemist must master have not been mastered, it means that the other party is definitely not an alchemist, at least not a senior alchemist. If one of Wang Lun, Du Qian, and Song Wan had mastered the spiritual eye, Jiang Hongfei's lie would have been exposed long ago. Jiang Hongfei knew that the combat power of Wang Lun, Du Qian, and Song Wan was only the lowest level existence in the water margin world. They did not have the ability to perceive, which did not mean that others did not. When people have bad luck, drinking cold water will clog their teeth. If Jiang Hongfei leaves Shuebuo Yangshan and meets someone who can speak with sharp eyes, wouldn't Jiang Hongfei lose all his previous achievements? So, Jiang Hongfei made up his mind not to study the technique of tightening the fine hole, and he would not leave Liangshan in the water. But things didn't go as planned. It took nearly 3 months for Jiang Hongfei to fully master the technique of tightening the fine hole. Jiang Hongfei can only barely tighten his seminal orifice when deliberately controlling it. If he doesn't pay attention, his seminal orifice will unconsciously open, and his spiritual power will turn into spiritual energy overflowing. There is still a considerable distance between him and other alchemists who can even maintain a state of tightening their seminal orifice while sleeping. On the other hand, Wang Lun is almost ready and is likely to force Jiang Hongfei into the palace in the near future. Jiang Hongfei knew he couldn't wait any longer, even if it was a risky trip, he had to cut off Wang Lun's unrealistic fantasies. Furthermore, the small amount of spiritual money that Cai Jin supported Wang Lun had already been thrown into Shuebuo Yangshan by Wang Lun. Now that Wang Lun had no capital to start over, even if he had shattered his dreams now, he would likely have to obediently stay there as his second son. So, Jiang Hongfei brought 2 small servants who always respected him, the leader of Liangshan village, and asked them to take a small boat to accompany him on a trip. The green and lush mountains are stacked with verdant peaks, and the green is nestled in the clouds of mulberry trees. The flowing water flows around the isolated village on all sides, and several sparse trees follow the path. With thatched eaves and streams, ancient trees form forests. Hanging high outside the fence, wind fluttering flags, and fishing boats leisurely hanging in the willow shade. Upon arriving at Shiji village, Jiang Hongfei looked around and saw this place, leaning against the mountains and by the water, with about 10 thatched houses, making it an extraordinary water town. Before Jiang Hongfei and his group could enter the village, they encountered a small boat speeding at an incredible speed from the village. On the small boat, there was a person wearing a black bamboo hat to cover the sun, a chessboard vest on his body, and a raw cloth skirt tied around his waist. Upon closer inspection, this person's jagged face was covered in strange flesh, and his delicate eyes protruded from his eyes. The length of the cheeks is light yellow, and there are black spots on the body. It is as pure as cast iron, suspected to be cast from stubborn copper. Jiang Hongfei immediately had 2 words in his heart. There are 5 true realms born in the world, and the village is called the Living Yanluo. That's right. The person Jiang Hongfei and his group met head-on was the Living Yanluo Ruan Xiaoqi among the 3 giants of the Ruan family. When an outsider arrived at their Shiji village, Ruan Xiaoqi tiptoed slightly, and under the control of spiritual power, the small boat under his feet crossed the path of Jiang Hongfei and his group. After looking at Jiang Hongfei and his 3 companions, Ruan Xiaoqi looked at Jiang Hongfei, who was clearly the leader, and said, "Who are you? What are you doing in our village?" Jiang Hongfei answered straightforwardly, Shaokushui Bo Liangshan village leader Jiang Yan knows that there are 3 heroes here, who are brave enough to protect themselves and have outstanding martial arts skills. They dare to go through fire and water, and live and die together. Therefore, he personally invited his brothers and 3 others to join him on the mountain and walk the path for heaven. Upon hearing Jiang Hongfei's words, how could Wan Xiaoqi not know that Jiang Hongfei was here to recruit his 3 brothers to join the Liangshan gang? Wan Xiaoqi, who didn't have many prefectures, immediately showed a happy expression on his face. In Water Margin, there are definitely heroes who are forced to climb Liangshan. Like Lin Chong, like Chai Jin, like Lu Junyi. But there are also some who take the initiative to go to Liangshan and just want to be this strong person, not afraid of the sky, not afraid of the earth, not afraid of lawsuits, wearing silk and satin, drinking in a big bowl, eating large pieces of meat and dividing gold and silver according to the scale. The most typical representative among them is the 3 sons of the Nguyen clan. These 3 brothers are naturally restless and dream of doing great things in the world, becoming famous and improving their impoverished lives. Unfortunately, no one had ever recognized the abilities of their 3 brothers and came to recruit them, leaving them to waste their time in this small Shiji village. They were the 3 little people who could only make a living by fishing and doing private business in the Bozi, living a life of no restraint. It was precisely because of this that Wu Yong recruited Chao Gai, and the 3 of his brothers followed him without hesitation. Moreover, they did a great deal by intercepting the birth chart and offending the powerful Prime Minister Kai Jing, who is now under 1 person and above 10,000 people. The reason why Jiang Hongfei has never been worried about Wang Lun deceiving him is because he is confident in recruiting the 3 heroes of the Wan family to join the Liangshan gang. In Water Margin, Wang Lun developed the water and mountains of Liangshan into 700 or 800 small minions. When there were 4 heroes on the mountain, Du Qian, Song Wan, Zhu Gui, and Lin Chong, none of them ever went to recruit the nearby Wan family's 3 heroes to join Liangshan. Is that because Wang Lun doesn't know about the 3 sons of the Wan family? How could it be? How could 2 families, who are neighbors and both local influential figures, not know each other? It can only be because Wang Lun, who has always been cautious, is afraid of the strength and influence of the 3 brothers of the Wan clan, and dare not recruit these 3 heroes who can shake his position as the village leader to join in Liangshan. In this way, as long as Jiang Hongfei recruits the 3 heroes of the Wan family to join the Liangshan faction, he will definitely be able to curb Wang Lun's ambition to seize the throne. Although he was so excited in his heart that he wished he could immediately follow Jiang Hongfei to Liangshan and become a bandit, living the life that their 3 brothers had dreamed of. However, Wan Xiaoqi still tried to suppress his own excitement and asked him questions. I have heard that the Lord of the Water Pool Liangshan Fortress is the white-clothed scholar Wang Lun, and I have never heard of your excellency's name. How can I understand? Jiang Hongfei smiled and said, Wang Lun is the 2nd leader of our village. We can recruit some soldiers. He can come forward as the 2nd leader, but inviting heroes like the 3 heroes of the Wan family to join us as the leader will naturally require me, the village leader, to personally come and invite them, in order to demonstrate our sincerity in recognizing and valuing heroes. Upon hearing what Jiang Hongfei said, Wan Xiaoqi couldn't help but feel even happier. Then, Wan Xiaoqi asked him another question. I dare to ask the village leader, why did the large village recruit soldiers and horses for nearly 3 months before coming to our Shiji village? Jiang Hongfei smiled and said, if I don't have a certain scale of water birthing in Liangshan, how dare I invite the 3 sons of the Wan family to come to Liangshan to gather together? Upon hearing that it was for this reason, Wan Xiaoqi was relieved that Jiang Hongfei did not come to recruit their 3 brothers to join the Liangshan gang instead of belittling them. Just thinking about it, if it weren't for the signs of prosperity in Shueibwo Liangshan now, or for inviting their 3 brothers to join in Liangshan, they wouldn't have gone either. After all, their 3 brothers are also outstanding heroes in Shueibwo Liangshan, and how could anyone be able to invite them? Wan Xiaoqi scratched his ears and cheeks, wanting to ask something more, but his heart had already flown to laugh at Jiang Hongfei in the martial arts world. In addition, he was a straightforward person who didn't know how to write, so he really didn't know what else to ask. Seeing this, Jiang Hongfei smiled and said, "Since Qi Lang doesn't have any other questions, why don't you follow me up to Liangshan and join us?" End of this chapter. Chapter 10. Due to the presence of Ling Yunzhi on the chest, the heroes gathered together to seek justice. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10. Due to the presence of Ling Yunzhi on the chest, the heroes gathered together, seeking follow-up reading. Zhang Shi is also from Songjiazhuang. From the surname, it is not difficult to see that Zhang Shi and his family are outsiders. As outsiders, Zhang Shi and his brother Zhang Chao have been bullied by children surnamed Song in the Song family since childhood. It wasn't until brother Zhang and brother Song Wan, who had been good at fighting since childhood, that this situation changed. Brother Zhang and brother Zhang were very grateful for Song Wan, who had always protected them. Therefore, after Song Wan offended Song Baozheng, they followed Song Wan up to Liangshan and became kings. Although Zhang Shi, like Song Wan and others, has always made a living by fishing and picking lotus roots, the difference is that Zhang Shi is literate. This is because when Zhang Shi was a child, he saw that Song Baozheng, who usually flaunts his power in the village, was very polite to the private school teachers he invited to teach his children. At that time, Zhang Shi aspired to become a private school teacher when he grew up. So Zhang Shi went to eavesdrop under the walls of Song Baozheng's private school every day. The private school teacher quickly discovered Zhang Shi, a child who was stealing education, but he never exposed this matter. He even took the opportunity to educate Song Baozheng's immature son, the late Song dynasty, who was going to sleep with Song Wan, and threw a book with 100 surnames and a 1,000-character essay out of the window for Zhang Shi to pick up. Later on, the private school teacher specifically approached Zhang Shi and gave him a stack of books before resigning due to his inability to teach at the end of the Song dynasty, encouraging him to study hard and strive for a successful career in the future. So, when Jiang Hongfei and Wang Lun were comparing their poems that day, apart from Wang Lun, Zhang Shi was the only person present who understood Jiang Hongfei's Mountain Slope Sheep poem. At that time, Jiang Hongfei's shock to the true lower-class person Zhang Shi was far greater than that to Wang Lunxiang. Zhang Shi believed that Jiang Hongfei was not only a talented person, but also a person who understood their impoverished people. At that moment, Zhang Shi concluded that Jiang Hongfei was by no means a thing in the pool, and Wang Lun, who dared not even write poetry in front of Jiang Hongfei, would definitely not be his opponent. From then on, no matter what others said or did, Zhang Shi showed great respect to Jiang Hongfei. However, Jiang Hongfei had a mission, and Zhang Shi did everything in his power to do it. Not only that, Zhang Shi also pulled his brother Zhang Chao to meticulously serve Jiang Hongfei's food, drink, and daily life, ensuring that Jiang Hongfei's village leader's dignity never fell to the ground. This is actually one of the reasons why Jiang Hongfei has been hesitant to come to Shiji village to recruit the 3 sons of the Wan family. Moreover, what others do not know is that Zhang Shizeng reminded Song Wan, who had already been very close to Wang Lun at the time, "Brother, it would be better to learn from the 3 swords of Peach Blossom Garden than to learn from the fragrance of Wagong. We once swore to Tianmeng that we should respect Jiang Yan as the leader of the village. How can we be fickle and make our fellow villagers in the martial arts world laugh?" It was precisely because of Zhang Shi's reminder that Song Wan went to find Jiang Hongfei and reminded him to pay attention to Wang Lun. In short, Zhang Shi has always believed that when Jiang Hongfei takes action, it will be the day when Wang Lun is defeated. The situation was exactly as Zhang Shi had anticipated. When Jiang Hongfei said he wanted Zhang Shi and Zhang Chaozai to go to Shiji village, Zhang Shi knew that Wang Lun had lost. As a person who grew up in Liangshanpo since childhood, Zhang Shi is well aware of the strength and influence of the 3 sons of the Wan clan. It is not an exaggeration to say that there is no one in Liangshan who does not respect the 3 sons of the Nguyen family for fishing and picking lotus roots. Even Song Wan had to politely call out second brother, fifth brother, and seventh brother when he saw the three sons of the Wan family. Let's put it this way. With just a casual call from the three sons of the Nguyen clan, at least 300 to 200 fishermen and lotus root pickers would go up Liangshan, easily offsetting Wang Lun's efforts in careful management over the past 3 months. The key is that in just a few words, Jiang Hongfei made the living Yan Luo Wan Xiaoqi bow down, and now he is honored as a guest by the local Taisui Wan Xiaoer in the short. Lived Erlang Wan Xiaowu. Let's listen to what Jiang Hongfei said again. From the imperial court, Liao, Western Xia, Jurchen, Tubo, Grasslands, Western regions, Goryeo, Japan, Dali, Annam, Kampa, Khmer dynasty, Queen's Kingdom, Siam, India, and other Western countries. These insights are not something that rural people who fish and pick lotus roots in Liaoerwa can come into contact with. Not to mention Wan Sanxiong, who was devoted to doing great things in the world, was filled with excitement and felt that as long as he followed Jiang Hongfei, a person with great insight, he would definitely have great achievements. Zhang Shi, who only dreamed of becoming a private school teacher, was filled with longing after hearing what Jiang Hongfei had said about the novelty he had never heard of before. He thought, if I could follow the village leader out and see this vast world, even if I were to die, my life would not be in vain. In order to entertain Jiang Hongfei well, Wan Xiaoqi personally went to Liangshan to catch a fresh ground spirit fish to cook soup for Jiang Hongfei. Wan Xiaowu specially borrowed a scallion from a brother's house to get the best beef for someone to cook, while Wan Xiaoer accompanied Jiang Hongfei throughout the entire journey and dared not neglect him at all. Wan Xiaowu and Wan Xiaoqi asked their confidants to buy several jars of good wine. The banquet is ready, and the three brothers invite Jiang Hongfei to take his seat, accompanied by the next prime minister. The four of them began to brag and drink alcohol. After 3 rounds of wine and 5 flavors of food, Wan Xiaoer used his strength to drink and said, "My 3 brothers are truly real and down to earth. I dare not add any falsehood. My brother is leading us, and if we cannot bear to help him with our lives, the remaining wine will serve as an oath, causing us all to suffer an accident, suffer from a serious illness, and die a tragic death." Wan Xiaowu and Wan Xiaoqi both patted their necks and said, "That's right, my 3 brothers are so passionate, they only sell to those who are knowledgeable like me." Jiang Hongfei said, "Others don't know what I know." The 3 wise brothers all have good skills, but unfortunately, they have always been heroes with no place to use. They can only make a living by fishing. In life, grass grows for an autumn. How can we, as great men, end up mediocre and useless? Wan Xiaoqi listened happily and held up his wine bowl, agreeing, "Brother, stop talking. Brother is willing to take 3 of my brothers, water in water, fire in fire. Even if brother only uses us for a day, we will die and we will still be smiling." Jiang Hongfei said with a stern face, "Nonsense. Since I have gathered with your 3 brothers, I naturally want to achieve great things. How could I ask you to sacrifice for nothing?" Upon hearing this, Wan Xiaowu said, "Stop. Stop," and exclaimed, "Qilang, what have I told you? One day, there will be wise and capable heroes who will recognize my 3 brothers as heroes. Today has indeed come true." Wan Xiaoqi jumped up and said, "The hope of a lifetime has been fulfilled today. It's just scratching my itch. When will we go?" Jiang Hongfei smiled and said, "The time is determined by your 3 brothers. The gate of Liangshan in my water pool is always open for you." The 3 sons of the Wan family were overjoyed. The 4 continued to drink and chat freely. The next morning, after breakfast, Wan Xiaoer took the initiative to say, "Brother, give my brothers 3 days. Let's gather some people to go up Liangshan together." Wan Xiaowu explained on the side, "My 3 brothers must not let others talk nonsense, thinking that we only rely on our brothers' loyalty to win this Liangshan." Jiang Hongfei didn't show any courtesy to the 3 brothers of the Wan family, but only said, "I'll be sweeping the bed on Liangshan for you. There is a poem as evidence. Jiang Yan is not a thing in the pond, and Wan Lang's fishing pleasure is also leisurely. Due to the presence of Ling Yunzhi in the chest, the heroes gathered together. The three brothers of the Wan family personally rowed a small boat to escort Jiang Hongfei for 30 miles. Then, Wan Xiaoqi kindly helped Jiang Hongfei onto the small boat rowed by Zhang Shi and Zhang Chao. The three brothers finally bid farewell to Jiang Hongfei with reluctance. On the way back to Liangshan, Zhang Shi and Zhang Chao were carrying Jiang Hongfei in a small boat. Zhang Shi looked at the back of Jiang Hongfei standing at the bow of the boat, only hating that his spiritual roots were not strong enough. Otherwise, he could follow the destined extraordinary Jiang Hongfei like the three heroes of the Wan family to accomplish great things. Now at this moment, Jiang Hongfei asked without looking back, "Zhang Shi, can you read?" Zhang Shi quickly replied, "Report to the village leader, I know it." Jiang Hongfei turned around and asked, "How is arithmetic?" Zhang Shi quickly replied, "I have a slight understanding of the surface." Jiang Hongfei looked at Zhang Shi and said, "If you are in charge of money and food, you may not be able to read or understand arithmetic, and it may be difficult to do it well. You can go back and become a leader under the leadership of Du Qian, and help him." Without hesitation, Zhang Shi bowed to the ground and replied, "No." Seeing that Jiang Hongfei had no other orders, Zhang Shi straightened up. At this moment, Jiang Hongfei had already turned his head back and continued to look at the distant horizon, unsure of what he was thinking. Zhang Shi continued to look at Jiang Hongfei's towering figure and thought to himself, "Can you assist the leader Du Qian in managing money and food? Perhaps I don't need to be a powerful alchemist, I can also follow the village leader to do something big." End of this chapter.